All right, guys, give me just one moment. I am starting up my cameras and getting everything like super ready and stuff. So we're gonna start that camera. That one, I guess I'll leave that for a moment. And now let us transition. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and today we are streaming probably jewelry. I'm not entirely sure exactly what we're streaming today, but we shall see what we get into. So today is a Monday, and all last weekend it snowed. It snowed so much that it was ridiculous. So we were actually snowed in for 2 days. We finally were able to get out of the house today. We went and got some food and a furnace filter and, just drove around a little bit. I checked the mailbox. There was nothing in there. There usually isn't much in there, but, occasionally one of you guys sends me something that's kind of a surprise. So, I figure I'll try and check it when I can. So on Friday, we worked on our pauldron, and for the most part what we did was we worked on the mudhorn emblem. And that mudhorn emblem sits on our pauldron just like so. So we pierced this out. We did a little bit of piercing, a little bit of cutting, and now it's time to take the paper off and see what we got. So you can kind of see it's starting to look like a thing. Man, this glue is like super good. Wait, were you born ginger? Because a younger lady streams like you in an alchemist profession. The face. I am not a ginger. I kind of have like sandy brown hair with blonde highlights. Some people call it dirty blonde. Some people call it light brown. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. But yeah. Papa's 37. Hello. Hopla. Literally the same person, different timeline. I mean, maybe. So yeah, we are taking the piece off, or the paper off, that we used for our template right now. So you guys can kind of see what it looks like without that paper on. So there we go. Looks pretty good, I think. It's a little on the sticky side because we used our rubber cement to hold it in place. So that'll come off if we heat it up, especially if we're using a welder to weld it on here like so. So we will do that later on, hopefully this week, maybe next. But so ordinarily, I would continue working on this pauldron, but in order to continue working, we need to go out to the hot shop. We need to do a little bit of work on the outside edge of this pauldron, and that's going to take the heat and the edge of the anvil. But it is super cold outside, and the fluorescents it's so cold the fluorescents aren't igniting out there because it is below 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty cold for this area. And so we're kind of stuck in here or just not streaming. So I figured we just, stream here and see what we can get up to. Streaking in the cold for science. 20 stream streak. Mahalo, that is crazy. Hey, Sandwich, good evening. Let me start with what I do best. I think the focus is on the background. Is it? It might be on the background. I'm having some issues because I got like, you know, got my wide on autofocus and it's being a little bit awkward. So I don't know. Let me try. I'll stop this and we'll see if I can't set the focus a little bit better. It's not wanting to focus. Okay. I think it's a little bit better. A little bit better. I'm not positive on that, but we'll see. It's hard to focus while there's no one sitting in the chair. You know what I mean? I I need someone to sit here so I can like focus on it or whatever. So yeah, so today we're gonna I have the idea that we are going to take a look at my scrap bin and we're gonna kind of see if there's anything that inspires us. The goal is to make at least one piece of jewelry today. Um, so yeah, gravy stains and equipment behind Gravy Goblin. This is actually this is wax, microcrystalline wax. And so it kind of looks like chocolate when you pull it out of the crock pot back here. But I have the crock pot to keep it nice and hot so that I can liquefy it and fill inside of the pauldron. So it makes a really great resist. So if I were to hammer directly on this pauldron without anything backing it, it would crush it. It would not retain its lovely curved shape. So I fill it with microcrystalline wax. The true, like, traditional method of doing this would be using pitch, a pitch bowl. But I have a lot of microcrystalline wax because I do a bunch of casting, or I have in the past. So that's what I've been using. It works almost as well. So yeah. Yes, I know that problem. A mirrorless camera with eye detection has solved that for me. Yeah. On today's edition of Craft Around and Find Out, Ray turns scrap into treasure. Something like that. That is the goal for the day. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the scrap bin. Now, I have a few ideas for things that we probably can do with the scrap that I remember I have. But we shall see. So I am going to take the lid off of this thing so that it's not all up in the way. And then let's see if I can move the... Okay, can you guys see inside of the scrap bin all right? I hope you guys can. So this is my scrap bin. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Just stuff that I've started, stuff that never came to fruition. And yeah, so we're going to look through this and see what is usable out of this. Ooh, what's in here? Loot box. Yes, this is totally a loot box. So as you can see in here, we have brass. So that's red brass. That's what that's called. I know it doesn't really look red, but it is actually called red brass. It's more of a yellow. We also have lots of copper in all kinds of different dimensions. This is a thinner stuff that's typically used for flashing for a like your chimney. And then I have some stuff that's like partially domed out. This is a little bit thicker. This is an 18 gauge. And I have some, you know, really thick stuff. This right here is nickel silver. Nickel silver is it's a silver alloy. It's kind of cheaper. It's apparently super ridiculously expensive right now. Corwin sent me a place to get it, and turns out it's like $96 for just under that, or just over that amount. What is this? Oh, I remember what this is. I was trying to make a decorative knife at some point. So I was soldering a whole bunch of stuff together, and so there's like a little knife blade. That's actually nickel silver though, so it's not like it would actually function. It's more like a letter opener. A really fancy one. It was actually based on the battered hilt from World of Warcraft. So World of Warcraft was running a contest several years ago for making art of like different weapons in the game, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna be special and extra." So I started working on that, and I never finished it because, you know, sometimes you never finish stuff. Here's another thing. So that is a brooch that I started. So I don't know if you can see it now, but this is an etched portrait of myself drinking out of a teacup. So that's a failed attempt at that etch. This was the successful attempt, but it's kind of nasty right now. And then that was actually supposed to go on this back plate, which is brass. So that was supposed to be a lovely brooch, and I never finished it. Lithochrist, hello, good to see another metalsmith on Twitch. Yeah, I do blacksmithing, but today it's too cold to go out into the hot shop, so I do a lot of silversmithing and jewelry as well. So here is a piece that I pierced out. This was actually supposed to go on this backing plate, and so this is steel, just like this one, and just like what the mud horn that we did. So this is like more intricate piercing. You can kind of see some of the teeny little holes that I pierced into that. That's a lovely damask pattern. Not Damascus, damask. So this is perforation. So this happens when you crisp up the outside of some nickel silver. You put fire scale over top of it, and that has a much higher melting point than the metal inside of it. And so what you can do is melt the metal inside, and it starts boiling and creates all those lovely little air holes and the bubbles. So that's really cool. And if you do that same process with brass, you get reticulation. You can also do this process with sterling silver. It's so much prettier, but it is also so much more expensive. So those are some of the cool things that we've already done in here. So now we got to decide if there's anything that inspires us today. This right here is nickel silver. We've got some brass, some copper. So I have a couple of ideas that I was thinking about doing, and so I'm not entirely sure if we want to do that, but I think I might actually start. I started blacksmithing and became a jeweler too. 27 years of smithing and 8 years of jewelry. Oh, that's so cool. I'm actually the opposite. I started by doing jewelry and silversmithing, and I moved on from there and started blacksmithing afterwards. I'm not sure what my intention was here. Some kind of, maybe a resist. Maybe I was trying to etch that. I don't know. But I've got plenty of like really nifty things in here. So I think we might actually start with the thing that I was thinking about earlier today. And so I have a disc cutter over here. Let me grab that. So this is a disc cutter. And so what I think we're going to try is we're going to take some of the brass pieces, some of the larger pieces here, and we're going to create washers. I think we're going to do 2 in brass and probably 2 in copper. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to stack them and solder them together and create a ring out of them. I think that's what I want to do. So that's probably what we'll start with today. Unless any of you guys can think of something else that you'd like to see. We could do a ring. We could do like take some of this stuff and like turn it into like earrings or something. You know, we've got stuff like that we can play with. All kinds of different shapes. But yeah. This is the start of a necklace that I was doing. This was like going to be the central accent piece on a pendant. I never really finished that one. But yeah, there's lots of stuff that we can do. We've got lots of different shapes. But I think I'm going to grab this guy. And I think I'm going to grab this guy. So we've got copper and we've got brass. Now I have to admit that I do not have any flux. And the design that I have in mind for this is going to require some flux. So I'm going to run an experiment. So most of you guys know that when you are doing Damascus steel or forge welding in general, you need a flux in order to keep the oxidation out of your plates of steel or whatever it is that you're trying to solder together. Or I mean, not solder, weld it together. So in order to create a nice clean surface, what you actually do is you use borax that you find in your laundry aisle. It is a soap, right? So I have some of that right here. And I was looking up today. I spent probably an hour, hour and a half trying to figure out what is in flux. And what I found is that flux is basically boric acid. And boric acid is related to borax. Borax is a base, whereas boric acid is an acid. And historically, both were kind of used interchangeably for fluxes throughout history. So I'm going to attempt, probably very poorly, to use borax as a flux to solder some copper to some brass. We'll see how well this works. So this might be a giant disaster, but you never know, right? You never know unless you try. Whoops. Which one did I lose? I lost that one. All right. So this is a dangerous item. I've already broken my finger with this guy once. Let's try and make sure that we don't do that again. All right. So I'm going to do this. And I'm going to check to see. Okay, so that's cool. It should work for flux if it is the right or at the right temperature. I think it will. I really do. All right, I'm going to put an inset of the wide right there. So you guys can kind of see what I'm up to. Yeah, we went and got Wendy's while we were out doing things. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is take this guy, the widest one, And we're going to make this hole be the outside of the washer, and this hole is going to be the inside of the washer. We're going to make 2 washers out of the copper and 2 washers out of the brass. And what I mean to say by washers is something very similar to this. This is a steel washer. So basically we want a disc with a hole in it. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to stack them up, solder them together, and then size them as a ring. And we'll see how well this goes. Nice to hear you can get out and do things. Northeast is really buried. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. My mom called me yesterday to kind of see how we were doing, because she saw that we were having a major issues, and they only got an inch, and she lives about 4.5 hours north of here. And yeah. Okay, so what I'm currently doing is I'm debating. So I picked a larger piece here because I don't know if I want to cut the middle, or like the interior hole, or the exterior hole first. So I'm going to try doing the interior hole and then the exterior hole, and then we'll try it backwards and see what we get both times. So let me grab a hammer. So I'm going to do this, and instead of holding, we're going to pull this over here. Instead of holding the plunger, it looks pretty straight in there. I'm actually going to hold the the copper. That way, because the last time when I broke my finger, I was holding the plunger like so. And I completely missed, and I hit this finger right here, and it broke the knuckle. And I definitely don't want to do that again. So we're going to hold it right here and trust that the plexiglass is going to hold this straight. So let me grab my headphones so I'm not killing my ears here. Let's see how this works. Choppy vocals. We had 0 snow. I don't know why I have choppy vocals. It might be because I'm moving around. Let me make sure that all of my connections are connected. That always seems to be a major thing. All right, so that's pushed in. That's pushed in, and that's pushed in. All right. Hopefully this works for us. Let's see. See, I knew I was going to hit outside of the thing. There we go. So now we have a lovely disc right there. I missed the plunger, but at least I did not. Okay. So there's the interior, or the inner disc. So now we have the outside of our washer. So we're going to put this in like so. And I have 2 theories for what's going to happen here. Either A, we're going to get a washer, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to be super duper happy. Or B, it's going to fold the edges down, and then it's going to be near impossible to get this thing out of here. So we shall see how that goes. All right, let's see if we can't center this as much as possible. We'll put that just like so. Oh, you know what? The second thing happened. It folded it over. I knew that was going to happen. All right. So you can kind of see here that it folded it under. So we need to make sure that we are using the outside first, and then maybe we'll go a lower interior. So that's why I was like, let's test this first. All right, we'll start over there. Audio sounded good to me so far. Okay. Didn't notice any choppy vocals. Could have been the internet at work. Yeah, it might be. It might be. Are you guys getting... Okay, if I hold on to this over here. Okay. So now I want the big guy. I want it over here. Let's see if we can't make a big disc. We got the little disc, but I'm going to try and do the... This is really tiny. Maybe I think we should be able to, once we solder it together, we should be able to make it a little bit of a bigger ring. Or we're just going to be making a pinky ring or something. All right. Can you guys see? No, you guys cannot see. So maybe if I put the inset over there, you guys might be able to see a little bit easier and better. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see well enough. All right. Let's try this again. Is it working? Kind of, but not really. It does not want to work. I think the butler is probably the one that's suffering the most here. The butler is working from home today in the other room. And I did mention that I was going to be using the circle cutter. So hopefully the butler isn't suffering too much. All right. We need to straighten that out. And we've got our little inner circle right there. So what we're going to do... Actually, we don't need to straighten that out. We need to straighten this guy out. Members. Okay. So we're going to take that like so. Because this is what we want to see. So we're going to try and flatten that out a little bit. Alright, so now we have a little circle, like a flat disc of metal. Now, let's see if I'm able to kind of put it in there like so. Let's see here. I have a little piece of steel that I could probably use a little bit to move that around in there. I have one other thing that I want to try if this does not work. One other thing. If this doesn't work as intended, we're going to make inner circles, and then from the inner circles, what we're going to make is we are going to saw around them to make the outer edge the way we want to. Because this might end up being a little bit not what we want to do. Oh, come on. Okay, are you centered up in there? Okay, I think that's as centered as it's going to get. And we're going to take this guy, set that over there like so. I'm going to look at it up there. All right, let's see. Let's see how well this goes, guys. Okay, so we've got our inner disc right there. Tap that. Try and get it all the way through. Maybe not. There it goes. Got it. Now, we have our other disc. That is not exactly how I wanted that to go. Let's go back and flatten that out again. It's a little off kilter, but it was a little off kilter to begin with. So I'm not entirely certain if I am happy with that or not. Let's see. It's not that much thinner. It like I said, it's a little off kilter, but I think that's all right. So let's make another one. It looks like I'm a little bit unstable, so hopefully things will stabilize a little bit as we go. All right, there's that one. I think I dropped my other one. Where did the other one go? No, that one is that one. I dropped my other plunger, and I don't know what happened to it. See, now this is the perfect time for you guys to use the drop emote, and it would have been the perfect time for me to use my drawer. Stream and sound seem rather stable to me, but focus is somewhat off on both cameras, though. Wait, there was a drop that I missed, forgot to do /drop. Oh, we've got some ads going. Let me take a look to see behind to make sure that I've got. I found my plunger. That's good. So that's the plunger. Now let's do a little bit of focusing. Come on. Show me. Oh, it's because it's on autofocus. I hate autofocus. All right. So that focus should be good. Now, I don't know about that focus. That focus is I'm probably just stuck with that focus. I don't know. I'm sorry. I do my best on the wide. All right. So things are pretty good, actually. Dr. Optimal, hello. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, things are actually pretty decent here. We did get quite a lot of snow. We got about 8 inches of snow, but we were able to maintain power the whole time, which is incredible. I was worried that we were going to lose power, and we didn't. So I'm super excited about that. So yeah, we had power and internet, and we were able to like watch TV and play video games the whole time while we were, snowed in, because we were definitely snowed in. We live on a major like thoroughfare, so we are usually the first people to get plowed out because we live on a road that's like the speed limit is like 45 miles an hour, and here in Illinois that's like a main thoroughfare. So it's a really busy road, but I mean, we just got out this morning and it was still a little bit snowy. Do you want to use the footage later on? Then it might be, or then it might matter. For the stream, the focus being a tad off should not matter much. I would like to use the focus, or I mean the footage later on if I can manage it, but I'm having some issues. So let me try one more thing. Because normally an autofocus is oftentimes they try to get faces and stuff. All right. So theoretically, if I put it on, I think it was on auto assist, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Is this any better? Maybe a little. I think it's a little bit better. Hopefully. All right. Honestly, not really. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then give me half a second. I just tossed it on auto, I thought, but they say it's not in focus, and I can't focus on myself.
Have it on autofocus, non-continuous.
Oh, I don't know.
Also, your card is
Oh, whoops. Oh well.
I'll get you another card in a second.
Okay.
Get your focus working for the people tuning in right now.
Yeah, I have the butler, so we're getting special treatment today. I will wait until the butler is gone before I make more of these guys. More washers.
For some reason, your autofocus isn't.
Yeah, it's not focusing for whatever reason.
It's not activated. Everything's in the right state.
I don't know.
Well, if it wouldn't screw up your stream, I'd reset the camera. But let's just.
I mean, I guess I can swap to the close up. Here, let's swap to the close up. Now you can. I don't know what you can do.
Well, let's just put you in focus for now. We'll see.
Okay.
See if I'll get you another card.
I can't focus myself.
Yeah. I've got you in focus now.
Okay.
You should be clean there. I'll get you another card. And
okay.
See if this whole thing, if it comes out of focus, I'll try it.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get another card, and I don't know why the camera isn't holding focus for whatever reason. Thanks for sticking with me through this scuff. Apologies. That one is rather spot on now, I would say. Looks good now. Cool. Because the butler manually focused on me while I was sitting in the chair. I can't do that myself because, like, there's no one sitting in the chair when I'm focusing, you know, when I'm solo. Typically out in the hot shop, what I do is I have like a really wide depth of field, and then I'm able to like get everything in focus. So yeah, I think I forgot to wipe the card is what happened when I started things up.
This one has whatever you've recorded so far.
Okay. Okay, we good? Oh, whoops.
What? Did we lose it?
No, we didn't lose it. I accidentally flipped, or I was on the wide when you cycled it because I'm a smarty. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Anything you could put in and on the chair to focus on. I mean, I could, but I'd have to like prop it up. I mean, I could totally put like my head up there on there. I have a aluminum head at the top up there, and I could totally put that on the table, or I mean on the chair, but I'd have to prop it up a couple times. Maybe a cat litter bucket, something like that. Alrighty. Looks good now. Cool. Are you formatting the card? Is that what's happening?
I was trying to go through your autofocus settings and figure out why they're not
Oh, okay.
responsive. Yeah, the autofocus like box is frozen at the moment.
I don't know why.
I'm just rolling off. It gets to be a problem to be very good mechanic.
Okay.
We've got it focused on
Okay.
your general.
There it went.
Go too far forward, too far backwards. We'll lose you.
All right, yeah. Okay. Ooh, this is a really, really small one. So we're definitely going to have to make this bigger. So what this is, I'll show you guys what this is. We need a suit of armor to stand in for Ray for focus exercise. Yeah, right? So this right here is a ring sizer. And so this, I can make rings at the standard sizes. It kind of gives me a measurement. It's kind of dirty. But yeah, if I look at this, I can't even put this on here. So we're going to have to cut inside there so that we can actually, when we solder all these pieces together, we'll be able to like size it. So we'll have to like open up that hole a little bit. All right. So we're going to make another. I think I'm going to put our inset over there. I think that should be an okay place to put the wide inset. So we're going to make another one of these guys. So like I said, like we did this first time, what we're going to do is we're going to start by making the large hole, like the large circle. And then we're going to come over here and cut in a smaller circle. And hopefully we can make it so that it doesn't get stuck again. So I hope you guys are ready. The large size is rings for giants. Oh, the largest size? Oh man, I gotta tell you guys about the largest ring I ever sized. There it goes. So we've got our guy there. Let's open this up. That way we don't accidentally lose it again. All of our little pieces. Haha. Maybe one of these days I'll learn my lesson. But you know what? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. There it goes. Oh, there went the lid. But that's all right. Alrighty. So now we have that piece. We're done with that piece for the moment. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this big guy and we're going to flatten him out. On both sides. So if we look at these guys, they're about the same size, not too bad. You know. Pretty decent. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to take this guy and stick it in here like so. And we're going to use our random piece of copper wire. What I do with my multi-tool. I guess it doesn't really matter. And we're going to kind of shove this guy around, try and center him as much as possible. Stick that in there just like so. So when I worked at Jared, I did a lot of repair work, and typically a 15, like you can see the 15 right there, maybe. Typically a size 15 ring is the biggest that most places carry. One day, a ring came in and they wanted a size 25. So I had to go up 10 sizes. It was kind of crazy. I had never seen a ring that big. I've never seen another one since. It was pretty crazy. He must have been a really, really big guy. Yeah, holy smokes. It was crazy. Like I said, you know. Alrighty. So I'm gonna hold this like so. I think I need to move this ever so slightly. There. That should be about as close as possible. All right, let's do this. Maybe I will not drop my phone. That would make me happy. So we've got our pull that out. Then we come over here, flatten out. Now we've got two. So if we put those together, you can kind of see that they're starting to get a little bit thick, right? Well, I don't want just two of them. We want at least 4 of them. So we're going to do 2 more washers, and we're going to do those in brass. So this brass is a little bit thicker than the copper. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of thickness. We might do a few more of these depending on how well this works. All right. So the big one. Was it a Super Bowl ring? It was actually a rather large. It was kind of in a design that was similar to a Super Bowl ring. It had like this square, like it was about yay big, but it was square, and it was full of diamonds that were set in with a burr setting, um, and yeah, so the design was similar to a Super Bowl ring, but it wasn't actually. It didn't have like designs on it, like intricate designs in the metal. Neanderthal genes, better centering on the inner ring this time. I agree. I think that it worked pretty well. We are actually going to be using the thickness because, like I said, I want to cut in a little bit into the inner ring just so that we can get it over top of the ring mandrel. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to upset the material on the outside and thicken it out a little bit. Hopefully that'll also make it wider. So we're going to be using hard solder in this process because hard solder is the closest to to the base metal itself, right? As far as its elasticity. So if you solder like copper and brass with hard solder, it tends to stretch around the same amount on the whole. Now, I will say that your solder has a tendency to at least a little or vary a little bit based on where you get it from and what type of solder you're getting. Sometimes, when you get, because there are two types of, or like, I guess, two shapes you can get solder in. You can get chip solder and you can get wire solder. This is wire solder. It's really old and it's kind of got some nasty like little spider web on it, but it's been sitting out in my shop for quite a while. Anyway, so this is wire solder, this is hard solder, and then there are chip solders that basically look like a rectangular sheet of silver metal and or gold or whatever color it is that you're getting. And so where was I going? Oh, the formulas that certain suppliers use, there's a little bit of variance, but on the whole, hard solder stretches around the same amount as the base material. If you like hammers, Ray never disappoints. I try not to. I try to do lots and lots of hammering. All right, so let's make a couple more washers. Fingers crossed that these work because, it would be nice to have a final product after this and not just like, some crazy nothing. More scrap for the scrap bin. Okay, got this all nice and lined up. Let's do this. Well, it's not wanting to go through here. It's starting to puff out over there, but it's not wanting to go all the way through. I don't know why. Let's try some more. Ha, there it went. Kind of loud. Kind of super loud. There it went. So there is the outer ring. We're going to hammer that a little bit on the straight side, or flat side at least. Might not be straight because, you know, it's round. But it sure is going to at least be, you know, mostly flat. All right. Put that there for the moment while we try and get the piece of stock out. The best versions of these actually open up, the corners here will open. Oh, come on. Haha, I got it out. Hex yes. Alright, so now we're going to do that side. And I'm still looking for my multi-tool. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, it's in my drawer. Could this jig be used in an arbor press? Does it require percussion? It does not. This jig does not require percussion. It would work a lot better in the press, to be quite honest. It would be a lot cleaner in the press as well, because you get an even amount of pressure all throughout the piece. Whereas as I'm hammering it, I oftentimes will angle my hammer, or, you know, one hammer blow will be a slightly, you know, off center, or, you know, not the exact same pressure as the previous blow. So it tends to move around our little discs, and it's not quite as clean as it could be. You can definitely tell with all of the little flashing on the other side. That's partially why we've got like a little bit of wavering in these, and we have to flatten them out. We came here to watch hammering. What kind of crazy talk is this about a press? I've seen stuff like this made with an ironworker press, but those are 10K plus dedicated machines. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the poor man's, you know, version of this. So we do what we can with what tools we have. But you know, I could use the press or even a smaller press. Yeah, and it would work pretty well. All right, let's put this center hole in here and hope that it works. Whoa, nope, 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 nope. We went completely crazy. And it started moving as we were hammering. So I need to recenter this. So it works the way we want it to. All right. Just like so. We're still moving a little bit. I think that's a little bit, okay. Okay. trying to be as careful as I possibly can with this process because, like I said, I have in the past broken my finger over this, and it's definitely not worth it, you know? So that is way, way off center. So we may need to make some more. So the idea goes that if we go and stack them like so, we can solder them together. And create thickness, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm trying. Or maybe it's going to be a little bit easier over here. But you're gonna start being able to see some thickness. So now we have 3, and now we're going to make another washer. Move those and flatten that out like so. All right. It's a sandwich. Exactly. It's definitely a sandwich. I'm making a sandwich. But by stacking them like this and then soldering them all together, we're going to create some thickness. And some stripies. So we are theoretically, we're kind of making a bit of, I'm going to call it mocha megane, which is the non-ferrous version of Damascus steel. But yeah, so hopefully it'll work the way I want it to. Hey, Rabbit Scotsman, how are you? I'm doing pretty well. Trying to warm up or keep warm from all of this crazy snow and ice everywhere. Hey, Holy Zoinks! Welcome to the stream. I am currently resetting my close-up cam. There we go. Okay. So the more of these discs that we stack, the thicker it's going to be. I don't necessarily want to do more than 4 at a time, though, when I'm soldering them together. And the reason for that is we're using a similar technique to how I used to solder sets of rings together. So in the United States, when people get married, here, let me do this. In the United States, when people get married, they there's an engagement ring that you give to your fiance when you ask them to marry you. And that's usually a more elaborate ring with at least 1 diamond in it, sometimes several diamonds, or other types of stones, depending on your budget, who you are, who you're asking, etc. And then you get a separate band when you get married. Sometimes people get multiple of those bands. There are also anniversary bands, and you get to this point where you get this giant stack of rings. And a lot of people, they have those rings soldered together. So it's just one stack of rings that you can put on and take off every morning, or when you go to the bathroom, or when you wash your hands, because you should be removing your jewelry every time you wash your hands, because otherwise you're getting soap and nasty in your rings. So you want to take them off before you wash your hands. Anyway, so the most rings that I have ever put together in a stack was 4. So we're going to start with 4 in hopes that the experience that I had soldering rings together works the same in this case as well. All right. All right, let's make a 4th washer. See how this works. You know, this would work a lot easier if I were standing. It's starting to come out of there. Maybe if I do stand, it'll work a little bit better. What was that? Oh, it was a piece of the desk. Or maybe it was a piece of the... But that's all right. It is not wanting to go through. Check that out, guys. It does not want to go through. Let's put that there. Because I don't want to hurt myself, you know? All right, so it has actually cut through. You can see right there. It's not wanting to like work as well as I want it to, though. What an interesting tool. They call those wraps, don't they? The ones that kind of go around the diamond ring piece. Yes. Typically they're wraps. All right, I don't know why it's not wanting to come out of here. Let's see if I can go the opposite direction. I don't know. Oh, I guess that wasn't a piece of the desk. That was actually a piece of the plastic part. That's always fun. Gotta be careful. Like I said, this is a very dangerous tool, and I'm trying very, very hard not to injure myself using it. It does not want to come out of here. Not even a little, guys. Not even a little. Okay. So you can definitely see that disc right there. But it's kind of stuck in there. Let's see if we use my can opener, if we can pry that out from there. There we go. I've never seen it do that before. There's a little bit of a tear right there. We're going to use a file to get rid of that. You can kind of see that little right there. All right. How easy are you going to make this to get out of here? Not at all. gentle, gentle taps. As I said, we want to make sure that that we're as safe with this tool as we possibly can be. Because I don't want to break anything this time. I have not actually used this tool since I broke my finger with it forever ago. So I bought this tool at Harbor Freight. Okay, so now we're just moving it over. Okay. So it's kind of a cheapo version of it. There it goes. It's out now. Yay. Yay. Okay, we're going to flatten this guy. And then we're going to file the edge. I think I'll probably do that. All right. No, it's in the other one. I know it's in the other one. Dang it. I should have gotten that before I put this on. Wow. These are pretty gross. I don't think I'd be able to see out of those. Well, I guess I am SOL on that front, but that's all right. So typically I should be wearing an optivisor. An optivisor is basically, it's a head held, or like it's a visor that is worn on your head. To make sure that you can see what you're doing. It's not very straight today. It wants to go movie. I don't know why. Moving around. Dude, your finger oof? What happened? Did I hit my finger and I didn't notice? I mean, I did break my finger with this leg, but that was like 7 years ago, somewhere in there. It's been forever since I did that. So I want to make sure that I don't do that. And that's why I'm being overly cautious with that thing. Way overly cautious. This file is nasty. Not amazingly sharp, but we, for the most part, got rid of the nasty on the edges. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3 there. So now we're going to make our next one. I have a sneaking suspicion that this guy is going to be a little difficult for us to get out of here, because it was already a little bit difficult to get out of here. But I think it'll be all right. All right, so we're nice and centered in there. That's the smaller one, I think. Is that the right one? Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, you know what? I need headphones. Loud. The Optimizer is not X-Men. I mean, you know, it is a little X-Men-y sounding, at least. It kind of looks like Cyclops' visor. When you said you broke it with that tool, how did it happen? Exactly like this. Okay, so I was holding the plunger just like this, and I was hammering like so, but I went whack, and I missed, and I hit right here instead of here, and it actually overextended to the side, and it kind of cracked the bone, like in that joint, and it was very, very unpleasant. So when I am holding this, I'm actually barely tapping it to a point where if I actually were to miss and hit my finger, it would be about as bad as any other time you guys have ever seen me hammer my hand. And not any worse. Okay, cool. We got it all the way through. Because like I said, try to be super duper careful. Because you know what? At the time, I was actively in a raiding team in my MMO, like a competitive one, and I was at a commission for quite some time. And my raid leader was not happy about that. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm on a raid team, but you know, it still sucked, and I don't want to deal with that again. All right, so now we are once again flattening things out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So all 4 of these, and we're starting to get enough thickness that I'm actually pretty happy with that. It was unpleasant. Oh, I used to raid competitively too. How cool. I mean, the last time I raided like at a competitive level, I was raiding Miss Pandaria in World of Warcraft. But I also was semi-competitive while I was playing ESO, Elder Scrolls Online. Okay. So now that we have 3, we actually have enough thickness that I think this could make a pretty decent band. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to solder all of these together. So the first thing that I want to make sure is that everything is like super, super flat. We flatten these all a little bit, but I want them to be super duper flat so we don't have any crazy gaps in these. And that they all fit somewhat together. So one side is going to be brass and the other side is going to be copper for this guy. All right. So this is a regular fire brick. And it's very similar to the ones that are inside of the forge outside. And we are going to do our soldering on top of that. So I'm going to get rid of this guy so that he is out of my way. And then that. My circle cutting. I think we're done circle cutting for the moment. So that can go over there. All right. So. Where are the tongs that go with this? Got that guy. And he actually goes with some tongs. Ha! Here are my tongs. There's a little bit of wax on the tips of those. I think it'll be all right, though. Okay, so basically what this is this is a tweezers. You can kind of see that here. So we got tweezers. You open them just like so. And they are this is kind of a second hand. So there's like a little bit of a little clamp here, like with a wing nut. So we put this in here like so, and then we tighten it. So we'll put this here like so. What we're going to do is we are going to well, that's not. All right, we want the thinnest section of all of these to line up. I have a couple of those. Let's see if I have another one or where my other one is. It might actually be in the other shop. That might be where it's at. All right. So if that's the case, then we probably actually want to do this. And we want to hold them like so. You know what? We might actually, instead of that, we might be using our solder bots, which is not something that I was originally anticipating, but that's all right. So these are called solder bots. And it's basically a piece of heavy steel that has nails on it. And it holds things in place for me. Do I have a solder pick these days? This could also be a problem. I thought I had everything, and I don't know that I do, actually, now that I'm thinking about things. Let me do this so that you guys can kind of see that I'm looking around for things. I swear I used to have things all nice and organized, but I don't seem to anymore. All right, there is a... I don't know. I don't know what happened. Oh, nice. My last time was Legion. Yeah. We just got done playing in Legion Remix. Legion Remix was a lot of fun. All right. So we can set this up just like so, and we can solder it in just like that. But I need my solder pick, and I don't have a solder pick. I don't know why I don't have a solder pick. I used to have one. I don't know what I did with it. It used to be in this drawer. All right. Let's see. Man, I feel really, really bad saying this, but I think that my solder pick is in the other shop and it didn't get moved with the rest of my stuff. And you know what? I kind of feel like my camera is out of focus again. All right. I am going to take a tiny... Oh, hey, I found my other... Okay, so there's this one. I found my other one. Let's see. I'm going to go and see if I can, or see about grabbing my solder pick. So I will be back in about a couple seconds. It's not that far. It's almost like when I go and get some Gatorade, that's about the amount of time I need. So yeah, we're about to see a ad break. So I think that once the ad break starts, I'm going to go and grab my solder pick. But yeah. So we do have an ad in about 3 minutes. So while the ad is happening, I'm actually going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with my flux. All right, so soldering requires flux, very similarly to forge welding. And so I use borax for forge welding, and so I brought my borax down there in here to see if it will work for soldering, because I don't have any flux for soldering right now. I'm not entirely sure why. I must have lost it. Lost it in the weeds. I might actually find it when I go to look for my solder pick, because I have one place that I think that they both might be that I haven't looked yet. And that is in a travel case that I would take to different events and stuff. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the borax and I'm going to put it in this container. And then I'm going to put a little tiny bit of water in there to kind of make it a little bit easier to apply to our ring that I'm currently making. And fingers crossed, it'll work. Theoretically, it should work. Like I said earlier, I did a lot of research on what constitutes flux. And it's typically boric acid, a little bit of fluoride, and a couple other inert or items, and some water or alcohol, depending on, depending on what brand it is. So I read that you can interchange borax and boric acid almost interchangeably. They work relatively similarly. So I'm hoping that by using borax and water, we should be able to get a nice flux paste. Hey, Blue Red Metal. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. During this ad, like I said, I am going to go see if I can't find my solder pick. I have one last place to look. And after that, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. If I don't find my solder pick, then I will bring a bundle of wire down here, and I can use a piece of like steel wire for a solder pick, and it's not going to be a big deal. We'll be able to get this at least attempt to solder. Excuse me. I sneezed. All right. So we've got an ad starting soon. All right, I will be right back. I will be back before the ad ends. Give me just 1 second. Let's see, let's see. Alrighty. All right, I am back. I did not find my solder pick, so we're gonna make one. I have a bundle of wire here, so we're just going to make a little straight wire as long as we can make it. Or not as long as we can make it, because we got a lot of wire here, but we're going to make it about yay long. And then that's going to go over there. And this is going to be our solder pick. Welcome back. Thanks. Thanks. All right, so this is going to be our new solder pick. So basically what happens is we cut off a little bit of solder and we use the torch to ball it up, and we can actually heat up the tip of our solder pick and get the solder on the pick, and then we can kind of put it inside the hole. You know what? I will be right back one more time. I am so sorry. I am so sorry, guys. Such scuff, man. I went out there and I got a bundle of wire, and you know what I didn't do? I didn't grab my Optivisor. This is my Optivisor. It goes on like so, and it makes me look like a dork. Is this a silver solder or lead or tin? This is actually a silver solder. A silver solder. It's not wanting to adjust. It's a little bit on the tight side, which is kind of odd because I have a really tiny head, so I don't know why it's being dumb. Where's the other ones? There's the other one. All right, I can see now. Okay. Okay. So like I said, this is a silver solder, so it's right here. I'm actually going to put the solder over here. We're going to cut a few. Peak of geek fashion, yes. Exactly, man, exactly. So right now what I am doing is I'm cutting up a little bit of solder, so I have a few pieces just laying over here that I can pick up. This makes it a lot easier for me to go around the piece. So right now I have 5 pieces of solder over here on this little brick here. All right, I think I'm gonna try working it this way. So we'll put that guy right there. We'll put that guy right there. And hopefully, if I do this, can you see? Kinda a little. Maybe if I move the whole thing over like so. I think you can kind of see that a little bit. All right, so I've got 5 pieces of solder here, 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 here. I'm going to use this. We're going to heat it up. This is going to ball up. Then we're going to apply it onto the stick and then move it over here, and it's going to go over top of here. All right, so I think that's all right. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make some makeshift flux. So I've got my flux in the box here. somehow I don't have my spoon. Because, you know, of course I don't have my spoon. So we're going to use my striker for no apparent reason. Because there's a little scoopy on it, right? And here's some water. We're going to put a tiny, tiny bit of water in here. I don't want a lot of water, just a little bit of water. Because I don't want to turn it into soap. I just want to make it a little bit easier to apply. So I want it to be like kind of a pasty paste, that's exactly what I want to see. So we're going to paint this on the inside and on the outside. Okay. We shall see how well this works. Like I said, this is very much an experiment. This is 20 Mule Team Borax, so it is not actually flux. I just took the borax from the laundry line. I added a little bit of water to make it fit on here a little bit easier, and we're gonna see what happens. This might be a complete and utter disaster, but I'm gonna try it. We're gonna see, you know, what happens. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna hit that, and then I'm gonna check to see. And we're probably gonna put my inset over there. I think that'll work. All right. Oh, I gotta turn on my gas bottles. I didn't turn on my gas bottles. Let me see. Sorry, I'm making sure that they're okay. This is my brand. That was a thing I just dropped. You said 20 Mule Team Borax, and I immediately thought of the old TV show called Death Valley Days. I don't know that I've ever heard of that show. All right, so let's see if we can't turn this torch on. Okay. It'd be nice if the torch would actually, like, there it goes. Haha. I have a functional torch. Can you guys see my torch? Might actually go onto the, if I'm not, careful. Being a little bit weird. There we go. It's a little easier. Okay. So when we are soldering, we want to make sure that we are heating the entire piece all at the same time. Because if we don't, our the rest of the piece is going to suck it all up. All right, well, this solder pick is not being nice to me. We're getting something. We're getting somewhere. Let's get some more solder on here. I have added the solder onto the side. So now I'm trying to heat everything up evenly so that it will flow. But I think that we're already filthy and I don't think it's going to want to flow. See if I can add a little bit of flux, but I doubt it. Yeah, we're not wanting to flow. I think it's a little too filthy is what's going on. And it might just be because it was filthy to begin with before I even started soldering. Yep, you guys are seeing me struggle here. Total struggle bus. It's because it's filthy. I apologize. Should have cleaned it a little bit more before I attempted to solder. Oh, we got solder all up on the top. Which is better than nothing. Better than I thought that it was going to happen. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make some pickle together. And then I'm going to try this after it pickles for a little bit. I know for a fact I saw my copper tongs in here somewhere. Where were they? Where'd they go? I swear to God, I saw them. Goodness gracious. Apparently not. Okay. If that's the case, then what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this copper wire and use that as a hook. All right. Let's pick out the cleanest one. There is definitely some rust in the bottom of that. I guess that'll work. Alrighty. Toss some water in there. And we're going to take some citric acid. There we go. Take the rings, stick them in there just like so. All right. So we are currently pickling our rings because they're kind of filthy. So what I did was I took citric acid and I put water, like I poured a bunch of water in there. Works a little bit better while it's hot, but I don't have a way to plug it in right now. I stole the cord that I was using when we were using the wax. I actually stole that for the van so that I could charge the van's battery, and I haven't brought it back yet. So apologies for how like completely scuffed this is, but I don't know. I think we're going to be out here on Wednesday as well, so I think that it'll probably be a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier on Friday as I am continuing to kind of figure out how to use this shop for everything that I want. Maybe I'll be able to find my solder pick. That would be nice. This one is a little, it's kind of, right now it's a little bit filthy. I need to like clean it up, but I also need to put a point on it. This is kind of a little bit flat. Makes it a little bit easier when your solder pick actually has a point on it to get pinpoint accurate solder placement. So yeah, I'm not the best at, well, I'm okay at doing this. I am a journeyman jeweler, but I am not familiar enough with my own shop at this point to kind of like be able to really, you know, just do this without any struggle or scuff. There's a bunch of stuff that is still in my hot shop and still like not here where I need it to be. And I'm still learning because, you know, it's been a few years since I've actually, you know, done any of this. So there's a couple tools that I always forget that I need, or, you know what I mean? Because, you know, when you don't do things like all the time, sometimes you forget some of the obvious stuff. So yeah. apologies for that. I guess we're probably not going to get it completely done today. But like I said, I think that we're going to be back here on Wednesday because um, the forecast is that, or like all week, we're going to be really, really in the cold in like the 20s. So I'll probably just do another stream out here, and then we will go as soon as it starts warming up to the point where we can go out to the regular shop. What I will try to do is make sure that we can finish our pauldron, and then from there, I have several different projects that I'd like to do. One of those projects is going to be I'd like to do another set of silverware. Silverware is one of those really early projects that we did together, and I want to kind of use it as a litmus test to see how much better at blacksmithing I've gotten over the last year while we've been streaming together, because I feel like I've gotten a lot better within that time span, and I want to see, how it, how it started, how it's going, kind of thing. Um, Another piece that I really want to do is I want to make a set of scissors. I've seen a couple YouTubers or blacksmithing YouTubers make a set of scissors recently, and I want to try my hand at that. And it's not one of those things that I'm ordinarily like really happy to do, because scissors require a very high level of precision and a very high level of grinding in order to get them to function properly. And I think I want to try it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to forge the scissor blades. So the scissor and then the handle, and we're going to rivet them to we will rivet them together, but I'm going to spend some of my own free time grinding them, because I don't think grinding is very interesting to look at. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to forge the scissor blades. I'm going to grind them on my free time over a weekend at some point. And then we will rivet them together and make sure that they work and they cut things. So those are my next few projects that I have in mind. Precision flats, precision sharps. Yes, exactly. Precision sharps. Because I mean, the blades have to actually come together at the correct angle and the correct like tightness, right? So one of the things that I know that I struggle with a lot is getting a tight rivet, and this is going to really test my resolve and test my skill. So we're going to try that, and it might be a giant disaster, but it might go well, and I'll have a pretty set of scissors at the end. If not, we'll have learned another thing. Another thing that I would really like to make is I do want to try my hand again at another axe. We didn't get the best results with the last two axes that we tried. So I really want to try it again. I've learned quite a lot, and I wanna try again. So those are the next couple projects that I have in my brain. I also, at this spring, would like to take or test my hand at doing some more forge welding out in the carport with the coal forge. I want to see about making some Damascus eventually. So I need a couple of attempts of learning how to forge weld. And yeah, so we'll get there. We'll get there. I can't guarantee that we'll actually make it up to the Damascus steel by the end of this year, just because steel and metal has like the price has just skyrocketed, and I don't actually have any 1095 or 15 and 20. I'll try to source some, and hopefully we can get a hold of it at a relatively reasonable price, but steel and silver and all of our materials that we use here have just been skyrocketing recently. So, because commodities are, they're kind of outrageous right now. But yeah. Let's see. How's our pickle doing? Are we getting... Woo! Are we plating it? Only a little bit. All right. I'm going to have to... Okay, we're going to keep those in there for now. It is starting to clean up a little bit, which is exactly what we want to see. I need to grab this other water over here and rinse my hand off a little bit. My pickle is only citric acid, but it is still an acid, and I need to make sure that I don't leave it on my skin because it'll start, it's corrosive. It'll start eating away at my skin. But I am actually very happy with the results of my torch. My torch did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it's working beautifully. It heated the metal adequately. It definitely got to the point where we were annealing our metals, and that's about the temperature that we need in order to solder. So it's working beautifully, and I'm really happy with how this setup is starting to shape up. Like I said, we're a little bit scuffy still because I always forget there's like one more thing I need and one more thing. And, so as we keep working down here, we will get more and more stuff right where it needs to be, and it won't be as scuffy as we keep going. Depending on how you plan on heating, 1084 would be easier for Damascus. 1095 needs a 10-minute soak time in a kiln before quenching. Huh. I do have a kiln that I have that we can do a soak in if we need to. So I'm not terribly worried about the tempering process. When I do get to a point where I am happy with, or when we have a piece of Damascus that we want to use, I would very much like to make a kitchen knife out of it. I have, or I guess the butler is the one that does a lot of the cooking here at my house. And we have some like really crappy knives, like restaurant style knives that we got at Sam's Club. But they just don't stay sharp very well. And I want really nice, good knives for the butler. So I think that if we are able to make some Damascus, I might try and make a chef's knife for the butler. And I'd really like to do that this year, but like I said, it's heavily going to depend on sourcing the steels. Sourcing the steels. But yeah. I think that our little washers are probably going to take a little bit of time to pickle, unfortunately. So I don't know that we'll get another attempt before the end of the stream, but I shall try. Let's see. Another project that I have in mind is Mahalo sent me some motorcycle chain. And we are going to make a hold down out of the motorcycle chain. Several weeks ago, we made just a bend down hold down. And that's been working pretty decent when I actually remember to use it. But there are a few pieces that I found particularly difficult to keep a hold of with that particular piece that we made. Like when we were making the raising stake, it just wasn't working quite as well as I wanted to. So I'm thinking that we're going to make or use that motorcycle chain that Mahalo sent us to make another hold down. So we will probably take a day and make that. I'm thinking what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole into the anvil stand, and we're going to bolt one end of that chain to the anvil stand, and then we're going to probably put a piece, like a weighted piece of steel on the other end, I think. And that's how we're going to use it to hold things down. Maybe we'll just use a hook. That way we can change whatever it is that weights or that is, is weighing it down. So yeah, I think we're just going to bolt one end to the anvil stand and put a hook on the other end. So I think that's probably how we're going to do that. What else? I have a few pieces that in this shop that I don't have that I really want to acquire. So one of the tools that I don't have here that I desperately need is a torch stand, right? So after I do a solder, the tip is very hot. So I can't just put it down on the bench because it'll start singeing the bench. It could start a fire. So normally you have like a V that you kind of hold the torch like so on the edge of the bench, right? So we're going to be making one of those, and I might try and make it a little bit more fancy. That way it kind of makes it worth doing as a project. What else am I wanting for in here? Someday in the distant future, I'd like to make a new jeweler saw frame. So we'll probably do that as a project, but that probably won't be this year. But yeah, there's a few things here and there that I'm really looking forward to making. So I've got a list. I'm checking it twice, and we're kind of, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to make a blacksmith's knife. Corwin asked us to do that, so we'll do that. I'll probably do a smaller one. It's going to be out of a piece of sucker rod that I bought while I was in Indiana. Or no, it wasn't Indiana. Maybe it was. I think it was in Indiana. So we got a piece of sucker rod that I'll probably make a blacksmith knife out of. We still have some 4140 that I'd like to make a raising hammer, make a second attempt at that. So I've got a lot on my plate. I've got a lot planned for you guys. Yes. So I'm super excited. Let's check on our rings one more time. See if we've got, enough, if they're clean enough. Not quite. Not quite. So I'm going to show you what they look like right now. So you can see that there's some nasty going on right there and some on that side. And it looks like what we've got going on here right now is they have plated, right? So that must mean there's some steel in there. So right there, that's where the solder one went on. And the rest, you can see it's all copper. So that means I'm going to have to sand all of the copper off of here and resurface every single one of these to get that contrast back. But it'll be all right. We'll be able to do that relatively easily without losing too much of our extra. So you can kind of see that one. It's not quite as plated. So I think I'm gonna resurface these. We'll just rinse these off and resurface them. I don't have a sink down here. So I'm kind of just using water bottles. As best as I can. Oh, so we've got some of them are actually like somewhat together. So yeah, you can kind of see there now. They're not together. They need to be resurfaced. So that we'll start with fresh surfaces on Wednesday, I think. And we'll try this again. You can definitely see that they have all been plated, which means I need to clean out the pickle pot. So this one is brass, but this one is also supposed to be brass, and it's copper. Or maybe it's this one. This one in brass, and this one is brass. So these two are copper. But yeah, we need to resurface these, clean these off, make them work. So yeah. Let's see. Gonna take that water and put it down there. So I think what's gonna happen, what I'm planning on doing is I'll probably raid off today. I apologize that I wasn't able to make much more progress. I've got a few things that I need to reassess in this shop. And I hope that when I come back on Wednesday, it will be a little bit easier and a little less scuffy. So thank you all for joining me. We will try this again on Wednesday. So thank you guys so much. Do you scrub with Scotch-Brite or just let the pickle work longer? Really, I should. What needs to happen is I need to heat up the pickle and let the pickle work a little bit longer. Then I'm gonna need to take a sander disc on my Dremel, which I have over here. I've got a Dremel, which I use like a flex shaft. So I've got some sander discs. This is a drum, but I have some sander discs that I can put on here. We will resurface those because we have plated them. And I want to get that nice bright brass color back. And then we'll make another attempt. So, I mean, honestly, we could probably just solder them while they're plated and resurface it after we've already soldered it. I mean, we could do that as well. It wouldn't be that big of a thing. Yeah. It was cool. Thanks. Well, thank you guys. Like I said, I apologize that we didn't make nearly as much progress as I wanted. I actually wanted this to be like a full project done in one day. But every time I say that I want to do a project in a full day, it always takes me 2 at least, sometimes 3. So, I mean, I guess I'm just on brand today. So thank you all for joining me and have a wonderful rest of your evening. I will see you guys on Wednesday. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. Let's see here. Gregolore TV, thank you so much for that follow 2 hours ago. Goodness gracious. I hate that I only have one screen because it makes it hard for me to see the. Hi, Tungsten. Come here. Come here. This is my kitty. Come here. Jump up. Can you guys see my baby? This is my kitty. He's adorable. I love him. He's adorable. Hey, bud. So, yeah. Thanks for the stream. Cool to see a different setting this time. This is the basement. Yes, this is the basement. So yeah, hopefully by next week we will be back out into the hot shop. We will be jumping between both of the shops as we go when it's appropriate. So thank you guys so much, and thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Nice orange cat. Yes, he's adorable. He's like a medium hair cat, which is very unusual. He's soft as all get out too. Let's see who is available that we can raid today. Let's raid Mr. Boombody. We haven't raided him in a while. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.